Okay, so this is the first time I'm doing a video wherein you can actually see me, and it's not like some VTuber avatar. To be honest, I didn't make any of those. Those are all free to download, free to use. Now, the reason why I'm doing this, I think, is that I want to start focusing on more real-life content. When I first started this channel, I wanted it to be less tutorial focused, you know? I wanted to be like Theo from T3, wherein I share stuff I learned, more than actually kind of walking you through what I want to do step by step. That's why I never did any full-on programming tutorial. I only did the Go series, which is step by step. And on that note, I do want to make some changes to the Go series because I was recently trying to use it on my own server. And, you know, I initially thought that IPv6 wouldn't be a necessary thing to implement, but it seems that it is pretty important. So I will work on implementing that. Now, I also want to focus more on technical videos about just technology, not just software. As you can see right here, this is my whole server cell. I have a bunch of stuff, and last night I was changing the entire network topology in my home network because I had openwrt as my main router now. I had to invert the whole topology. But in doing that, I really just wanted to point out kind of the interest that I have in more technical videos of not just software. I don't want to just focus on software, I also want to focus on hardware because I clearly have a lot of it. So, in a sense, that's where my videos might be headed. It's not going to say that any of the videos are not done. And I actually recorded a bunch of footage for the vlog, or a vlog, and I'll put it out right now. I doubt this is going to happen. Yeah, okay, let's hope that it's going to stay. Oh, fuck it. 70. But other than that, fuck this place, bro. I'm gonna look schizophrenic just talking to myself, but I think it's good that editing when I get back home, which is gonna be soon. But yeah, I mean, look at this view. Who says software engineers don't go out? But I realized that it's not enough footage for me to create a coherent, long enough video. And that honestly I didn't record enough, even though I should have. And it's not like I go back to Colorado. But yeah, so I'm filming this right now, and we will transition soon into me talking about my networking setup. And I'm also working out another video, which is going to be about SS redirect, SSR, that I programmed and kind of how I made it. Because I actually made SSR in about 2 days. So it is a really rushed project, and I really just made it. I actually made it right before I went on vacation to Colorado, and I only worked on it a little bit in Colorado, which is what the video I was making was about, or the vlog. But either way, I guess now there's a face to who I am, and I really want to focus on more real-life videos as well, and not kind of push that out of the picture. I feel like having a face to associate with this channel is important, and so I will make sure to find more videos or make more video ideas that can focus on more like real lifestyle content. But in a second, we will transition to me talking about my openwrt setup, my whole networking setup, because it's real janky, and I had to update it. But I actually like how it happens, and I like openwrt compared to the ASUS stock firmware. But yeah.
So this is a voiceover post video. So here is the switch, the TP-Link 8-port switch, and I bought it from Micro Center for $25, which is actually a really good deal compared to other stores like Target and Best Buy, which I went to earlier, and I checked their prices, and they were selling it for $35, $40. But Micro Center had a sale, so I was able to get it just for $25, even though that sticker right there said $35. And I also bought some Ethernet cables while I was there, even though I also bought stuff on eBay for it. So here I am trying to open the box, and if you can't tell, I'm kind of stupid. So me trying to figure out how to open a box is also even a struggle. But right here we have the thing. It's really a simple box actually, where we have the switch, the 8-port switch, the power cable to go along with it, as well as some rubber feet for it. And so this is the first unboxing experience. When I first took it out, I actually realized that it's actually pretty decent metal, because my other one, my 5-port switch, was made out of complete plastic. So this was kind of a change. It feels like, it's not like premium metal, but it feels like aluminum or some other nicer metal. And so here I'm trying to take off the feet using the knife to get off that adhesive cover and to stick it. And so you can see right there, I got one stuck, and then I'm trying to get it out with the knife, but I just ended up pushing it into the. So now that's kind of permanently stuck inside, and who knows whether or not it will ever come out. So yeah, I tried to give it a good shake to see if it would come out, but I guess it's lost forever. So to make sure that didn't happen again, I started to make sure I took the plastic cover or the film off of it before putting it on. And so yeah, I don't actually know why I did this, because if you look, or what will eventually transition is this was placed set up vertically, so it wasn't like the feet really did anything. But I just wanted to use everything in the box, and that's just me showing up close all the ports. It's 8 ports. So transitioning over here, this is by setup. So I took off by AI art. So that was that big one I used for AI art, and the one on the bottom is my general purpose server, so that runs my OpenVPN server, and then the one on the top, that's my LLM server. So that's kind of a difference compared to my original setup, the original video I made, because I divided it into different responsibilities per computer instead of having it all on the same computer, because each computer had a limited amount of VRAM, as well as I upgraded my setup to a 2070. I think that actually stayed the same, but I actually have another computer which is on the bottom, which is running a Proxmox after I traded with my brother. But right here, there's nothing going on because I was trying to do some other stuff. I think I was trying to manage some cables or get some rubber bands. But you can see here, I'm trying to get rid of the old 5-port switch, which you can see on the left side. Now, what should be noticed is that while I was doing this, my mom was actually working, so I couldn't like completely take out everything, turning off all the Wi-Fi. So I actually had to keep it on, and the network topology change didn't happen until after, but I didn't film that part because the setup looked the exact same. It's just that I changed where some Ethernet cables plugged into, where the TP-Link. The TP-Link is the one on the right, while the ASUS is the one on the left. And originally, the ASUS was the primary router. It was the one that directly connected to my modem, and that modem just runs as a bridge. So it just runs as a bridge to the router because the default is really shit. But the TP-Link has openwrt installed onto it. It was really easy. I just had to flash the custom firmware. I looked on openwrt, and it said that the ASUS router I have on the left is possible to do. However, there was no device guide on the Wikipedia, so I ended up giving up because I tried a bit. I tried to reset it, tried to enter recovery, and I couldn't set it up. So in the end, I just kind of gave up. So here I'm just kind of setting it up, making sure that the Wi-Fi still sits in because my mom's working, she's on call and whatnot. So I can only visually change how stuff is and kind of order things up. So I'm just kind of cleaning up all the cables because it used to be really messy, because originally I didn't have that TP-Link, but I saw a video about openwrt, and I'll put that in the description if I can find it, which then kind of motivated me to myself download openwrt and get it flashed onto one of my routers, and thankfully it worked on the first try. And now at night I changed it to where the openwrt is actually the one receiving from the modem. So that's kind of, in a sense, the topology is that one's the primary router, while that ASUS runs as a secondary. As of now, I only have it configured where the TP-Link is just a switch, so there's no actual like wireless connectivity, because I just have the interfaces down. That's it. But I could set it up if I wanted to, but I prefer to just keep the ASUS as the wireless router part. And right here, I'm about to transition into just close-up so you can kind of see. Right there, I'm kind of twisting it to make sure that it's tight, because for some reason that one keeps getting loose, and just kind of wiring things through. You can see there, and then you can see on the right kind of the mess of rubber cable, rubber bands, cables, and other things, as well as the computer, the AI computer. Actually, that's not the AI computer, I don't believe. That is my Proxmox computer right there. And then you can see I'm trying to stick it, so I had the 8 switch as well as the 5 switch, because although I could have just used one of them, I figured using both of them would be more beneficial. And what's nice about these switches is that they're, number one, unmanaged, so there's no software, as well as it's just really easy. It's a really easy plug and play. They automatically can figure out which LAN is, sending, receiving, and whatnot. And so you don't really have to dedicate, for example, like for a router, there's a WAN port while there's LAN ports. But for the switch, it just doesn't matter. You can just plug it in and it's already able by itself to figure things out. So that's nice. So you see I plug in the power there and I'm trying to just route the power to the 5 switch at the top. Yeah, I wanted to, so originally this, I guess you could say 13 switches, these 13 Ethernet ports were plugged into the ASUS router, because again, that was originally my primary router, but now it's plugged into the TP-Link, the openwrt router on the right side, because that is our, the new primary. And then you can see here, I'm just routing cables, and honestly, I think I went to go get a rubber band for that black Ethernet cable, because I switched it out for a nicer bluer one, a thinner one, and a shorter one that I was able to get from Micro Center for only $8. So it was really nice. And you can see I'm just kind of trying to route the power cable through for that that Dell Optiplex, that really small Dell Optiplex. So that one's actually my primary server that runs my code, that runs my VPN that I can connect into, as well as it runs some Minecraft servers that me and my friend play, and that I host for some other people. So you can see I'm running the Ethernet cable through, and I'm making sure I keep it pretty short, because I don't want it to look like a mess, even though it kind of already looks like a mess. But I want to make sure that the cables are as short as possible. And you see then I put back up that AI art rig. That's by 2070. That's kind of in a sense my more powerful one. And then the Proxmox VM you can see on the table right there. But that goes under it, and that's also connected by Ethernet into the switch. But you could just see me right now, I'm routing stuff. I believe this one was routing to the gaming laptop on the top, which runs my LLMs. And the reason why I actually did this, the reason why I separated the concerns is because, well, the AI art server draws a lot of power at idle. I would say it draws maybe 70 to 100 watts at idle, which is really inefficient. As well as, not to mention, for some reason, it might be a BIOS version or BIOS issue or by CPU issue, but the C states are not really functioning in that computer, so I have to disable it, because otherwise it would freeze the system. However, that gaming laptop on the top, number one, I don't really use, but number two, it has a 30 series card as well as a decent amount of VRAM, about 6 gigabytes, so it can run smaller models. But ultimately why I got it is why I decided to use it for that is because of its low power draw at idle, because it has proper C states, as well as since it's kind of developed for a mobile platform, that's why. And you can see me, I'm just kind of taping things off to make things look a bit nice, even though it kind of looks like shit. But yeah, that's the majority, and then I'm just kind of wiring the computer on the bottom, and I'm, wiring that Ethernet cable up to the top, and I'm using just some free zip ties, or not zip ties, but the 3 twist ties to tie up the cables and make everything look nice. Yeah, that's for the most part, and you can see I'm plugging it. I'm trying to wire it through and plug it in to the switch. And then right there, I'm just kind of cleaning up. So, yeah.
So here I am on my computer, and now we're just going to navigate to the router so you can kind of see what it looks like. So I go to 968.1.1. And the default username is root, but I changed the password. Typically, by default, there's no password. So here's my openwrt setup. As you can see, here's the model of my router right here, the processor, and you can see how much memory I've used, how much of it's cache, etc., etc. And you can see that this router is actually pretty well spec'd, considering it has basically about, you could say around 512 megabytes of RAM, while a 32 megabyte storage. So that's pretty nice. And you can see here, this is my IPv4. Here's my public IP address. I actually might censor that. And this is my IPv6 IP address. And actually, this was the problem that I was running into when I was running DNSU on my own server, is that when I went to my IP providers, the IP providers that are part of DNSU, when I went there, all of them actually returned, most of them returned the IPv6 address instead of the IPv4, and obviously the program isn't configured. An A record isn't supposed to have IPv6 entry in it. Only A records are supposed to have IPv4, and I didn't implement support for IPv6. So as a result, it wouldn't work. So I had to actually manually go into openwrt and disable the IPv6 interface so it wouldn't request an IPv6 address. And you can see here, these are my DHCP leases, so these are the devices that are connect. I don't know whether or not this doesn't even matter, because this is actually spoofed. And then this is the Dell server, because I have it reserved to an IP address. And here's the wireless, so you can see that the radio is actually disabled, but it isn't my main wireless access point, because my wireless access point is the Asus router, which you can see here if I go to 2.1, because now it's on that subdomain. And then if I log in here, you can see that this actually is the one that has the router activated here, the Wi-Fi. But I actually tried to install openwrt on here by going into the administration, the firmware upgrade, but that didn't work. And there's no guide on openwrt's website for this specific device, and I kind of looked into similar devices, similar wireless routers that did have a device page, but I wasn't able to set it up. And honestly, I already have one openwrt instance. I don't really believe I need two. Here you could see, if I go to my firewall right here, you could see my port forwarding. So this is obviously for stuff like my Minecraft server, for example. So then my Minecraft server, this is my website that's available on, well, actually I technically have two domains, my rainwash.xyz domain as well as my licj.xyz domain. So these two are actually hosted from my own computer. It's not hosted in the cloud or anything like that. And you can see it forwards to that Dell server that I have, which is 192.168.1.3. And then here you can actually see my subrouter, which is really impressive because I wouldn't be able to do this with the Asus router at all. When I'm able to forward all of the traffic coming from my subrouter, or all the port forwarding from this device to the greater internet. Because if I go to 168.1.2.1, right, this router here, I actually had port forwarding in here. So for example, if I wanted a wireless port forward, which I honestly don't suggest because wireless is really janky all the time. But here you can see if I go to WAN and port forwarding right here, I have all of these. Now, technically all of these devices are no longer connected into my Asus router. They're all connected to my openwrt router. So I actually tried to replicate, or I replicated some of the port forwarding. You can see the 80, the 443, the VPN, the 57709. These were all ones I did in the openwrt that you can see right here. But this is basically saying that all of the IP addresses or all of the port forwarding coming from that wireless router will also be port forwarded here, which is very nice. And you can see right here, I actually had to order it correctly, because if this was placed at the top of the topology, it would go into the subrouter, it would check the subrouter, because it's technically saying we're not filtering by port, we're saying all ports under the subrouter. So we have to make sure that these ones have a greater priority than this one, because it's going to look top down. It's going to check top down, and if this is at the top or this is before something, then whatever under it won't ever get configured or reached. And you can see here, if I go to DHCP and DNS, and you can see my static leases right here. So this is, for example, the computers that I have that are different, that have static IP addresses, or not static IP addresses, but reserved DHCP, which basically says that the DHCP server will reserve these IP addresses. It doesn't operate the same as a static IP address, because the static IP address is technically configured by the computer, or but the DHCP is actually a much more easy way, and it's much easier to just set it as a reserve here. And you can see the MAC addresses, so that's kind of how it identifies it, and then it will connect, or it'll make sure that this IP address will go for that one, so I'm able to access it. And then these kind of are mostly replicated of what I originally had, so 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, because we know that 1.2 is connected to my subrouter right there. And honestly, other than that, openwrt has been really easy for me to use. I did have to read documentation and kind of figure it out, because it obviously isn't as simple as your stock firmware or whatever. But I think that in case you having this kind of control, this added granular control, it's much better, because you're able to do things and you can actually set up virtual LANs. But I honestly like this more for the port forwarding, and the fact that I can port forward a range, which I couldn't have done in the Asus stock firmware, because number one, it also limited it to only 32 ports that could be forwarded. But here you can see that I'm port forwarding a range of 25565 to 25570, so that's about 5 servers, 5 Minecraft servers that I run. But yeah, other than that, and also it's nice that I can just save and apply, and it automatically applies these port forwarding without having to put down my network, which is what that Asus router would do. Whenever I would change the setting, it would basically take down the whole Wi-Fi with it, and it was really annoying, if other people were doing stuff at the time. But other than that, this is just my setup. It's a really boring and basic network setup, and it's not like some advanced complex rules and whatnot. It's just what works for me and what I do as a developer and as a programmer and as kind of a network hobbyist, and in a sense a hobbyist in everything. I'm not a professional in anything, but this is my setup. And yeah, other than that, I really hope you guys all have a good day. Bye.